Okay, everybody, check it out. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today we're going to be reviewing Raven, Swordsmistress of Chaos. Oh, good Lord God Almighty, this might be the stupidest thing I've ever read or the most glorious, brilliant thing I've ever read. We shall see by the end of the review what I think of it. This is book number 1 in the 5-book Raven series. Came out in 1979, and these things scream late 70s, early 80s fantasy like no other book series I've ever seen in my life. In fact, I didn't even know these things existed until about 2 weeks ago when they showed up on my eBay recommended things to buy list, and I checked. I was like, oh, what is this? What is this treasure that I must have? They were all in mint condition, all 5 of them, plus an extra copy of book 1 that was a little hammered. So I immediately clicked buy. And they arrived, and I read the first one, and I'm telling you, it was one of the most pleasurable, fun, exciting, unexpected experiences of my life, and I just can't get over it. I am fucking stoked to give you this review because it is going to spiral into chaos very quickly. I mean, she is the Swordsmistress of Chaos. So, let's talk about the covers first, because that's where the dynamite that's where it starts, is with the covers. These covers were done by the great fantasy artist Louis Royaux. He's done a ton of books in the fantasy genre, starting in the mid-70s all the way till today. He just does a great job. And we get our main character, Raven, in her completely useless chainmail bikini. But that's what we love about it, right? I mean, each one of these covers is just better than the next, with the sheer preposterousness of her uniform. But, I mean, I love it. I can't get over how much, and we're gonna, okay, so I mean, each one of them just gets more and more. I mean, should we say they just get more and more absurd? Absurd? I don't know. But I like it. I like it a lot. Let's start. Oh, and there's a map. If that isn't enough, there's a map. There's an actual map to the land that Raven adventures through. And let's get into this. Let's talk about this. I'm going to read the back of the book just because, again, there is gold just on the back. Raven. She escaped the slave pens of Liland, a beautiful girl with hair the color of summer sun, eyes as blue as the heavens, and a body that invited lust and love. Raven, rescued by sorceress priests, she was schooled in every art of weaponry and combat. Her sword stained by the blood of legions. No man could tame her. Raven, with her mysterious companion mentor Spellbinder, and a great black bird to watch over them both, Raven journeyed forth to her destiny, and the happy day of slaughtering Carl Don Wayne, the cruel master who had tortured her mercilessly as a slave. The bad guy's name is actually Carl Don Wayne. So, it just seems like it's just fitting for one of those really bad movies that you love, where the bad guy is Carl Don Wayne. Oh my, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, I opened this book up, eager to read, and was delighted, absolutely delighted, just by the first few sentences where we get, I'll just read them and let you enjoy. So, the girl, this is the opening. The girl crouched on the moonlit sand, listening to the baying of the slave hounds. The unearthly howling seemed to match the heaving of her air-starved breasts as they thrust against the skimpy Lindian cotton of her shirt, moving this soft material over the cuts and injuries decorating her lithe body. Okay, I don't know what air-starved breasts are, but I'm glad that they're in this book. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. Every page is full of this kind of stuff. Let's turn to page 2. This is so stupid. She ignored the aching agony that threatened to burst her lungs. Beneath her jouncing breasts, she ignored the stinging pain of the slave marks. She ran and ran and ran. Jouncing. Okay, we could belabor this point. I don't know. I don't know if I should have expected anything different. I really am not sure if I should have expected anything different. But so far, I am loving everything about this. Actually, just to be serious, these books were absolutely delightfully written in that despite the weird male gaze that is just running rampant through this. When we describe the armor, the author did the most accurate job of depicting every single thread of her outfit. When she gets rescued from the slavers and everything, they give her this outfit, and it is this is the outfit. And Louis Royo he painted every single bit of it accurately. Every thread that they describe, it's accurate in this painting. I actually appreciated the detail that they went into. The publisher, 1979, and they were on top of it. The light was glaring off of this one, and that just will not do. A glare will not do off on a cover as divine as this. I'm going to straighten that out. So what's this book about? I mean, we've gone on and on. You don't even know what this book is about yet. It's about a young girl who escapes the slavers. As she's escaping the slavers, a raven, a big giant raven, saves her. Then she is saved again by these two other guys. And this is written, this has got a delightful magic and playfulness to its prose that I wasn't expecting. It's written in a way that modern fantasy just lacks. And I'm going to be straight honest. I actually think this is more well written than a lot of the stuff that's coming out nowadays, just because I can tell the author who is, and we didn't even mention the name of the author, Richard Kirk. But that's not his real name. I did some research on this, and this is actually written by two authors, Angus Wells and Robert Holdstock, who were pretty well-known fantasy writers in the 1990s. So they collaborated to create Raven, and they went under the pseudonym of Richard Kirk. And Richard Kirk / Angus Wells and Robert Holdstock, actually, they can write. These guys can write some prose. And like I said, I was not expecting it to be as well written as it is, and it absolutely delighted me because I felt like I was reading Conan the Barbarian again. I felt like I was reading just some of those old school sword and sorcery fantasy. Well, that's what it is. It's an old school sword and sorcery fantasy with all the mythos and naivete that those sort of books had. That, like those old shows like Hercules and Xena the Warrior Princess and those old movies like Beastmaster. That is exactly the type of flavor that these things are. Now, Raven gets rescued. First by the Raven, then she gets rescued again by a dude named Spellbinder and a dude named Argor. And these guys treat her actually pretty well. In fact, they teach her in the arts of magic and weaponry, and they actually start to call, they're outlaws is what they do. They really go around and they thieve things, and so they've got this band of thieves that they've put together. And They're outlaws and they're handsome. And of course, there's a lot of lovemaking to be had in this book, is what it is. And it's actually sort of, I would call this, I don't know, just, it's one of those things where there's, when they used to make those old fantasy movies in the late 70s and 80s and put them on HBO just because they had a lot of TNA, that's sort of what this book is. That's actually 100% what this book is. They could have filmed it with their evil man, the evil guy. What the fuck was his name again? Carl Don Wayne, the evil Carl Don Wayne. It's interesting because everybody else in this story has like a fantasy name except for the bad guy, who's Carl Don Wayne, which makes this book all the more special. So she, Raven, is got this magic sword, yada yada yada, different things. There's magic stones, there's magic skulls, there's magic swords. She calls it Chaos Bringer. She is that's why it's the Lords of the Swordsmistress of Chaos, and she's like the chosen one. These two guys that rescue her, these outlaws, they just say, "Oh, you're the chosen one," and she's like, "I am the chosen one," and they go on their outlawing adventures, and eventually does our lady Raven get to face off with the evil Carl Don Wayne at the end? Well, you shall read and find out. I mean, I'm not going to spoil that for you. I mean, my God. I mean, I wish they would film this. I swear, I would go see this in a heartbeat. Because I actually think if they filmed this, it would be one of the more dark and gritty fantasies that we'd ever get. And I wish, if they do film it, I hope they, you know, I mean, I'm just saying that's a badass cosplay, that I could see a lot of people digging. What do I think about this? I think you realize I told you when I started this channel I would never ever review a book that I thought sucked. I would just never mention it on this channel. So I know the title of this video is a bit clickbaity, because I really wanted you to watch this video, because this is a treasure trove of old school fantasy writing, and I just delighted in every word of it, even the preposterousness of it. And it was just absolutely fucking awesome. And I can't wait to read the rest of them. And I hope they just get more and more and more bizarre as they go. I just can't wait. I am giving Raven, Swordsmistress of Chaos, a solid and very enthusiastic 9 out of 10. I mean, this ranks up there with some of my favorite books. It's just that and amazing. So everybody rush out and see if you can find, these are rare. You ain't going to find them. I think I might have the only copies printed.